Hey, my brother.
Ladies, what's up? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 94 Speak On It. I am your host, Danny Ocean, as always, joined by the smoothest man on the planet, Losty Mix. Coming into some scissor. You went to her show recently, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to her show on Saturday. Saturday night. Yeah, Saturday night. Me and my sister went to the SZA concert.
How
Whew.
was it?
Are we talking about how was she or how was the performance?
How was the performance?
The performance was spectacular. SZA has an incredible voice. She's a really good performer. I thought she did a really, really good job. So I think she put on a hell of a show. So shout out SZA. But aside from that, I will say that SZA looks incredible in person.
Gotta let the lust take over.
Listen, I respect my rappers out here, and I love rap shows, but there's something to be said about these R&B singers and these songstresses because, and even the R and even the female rappers, the lady rappers, something about seeing them in person that makes you just be like, "Whoo, Lord have mercy." there is some,
The
there is some money behind this beauty and glam, because Lord have mercy.
Please call the horny police. It's only
Nah,
seven. It's only 8 o'clock.
call the horny police. They might have a 10-4 out on me. They might have a, you know what I'm saying? They might have a 1287 on me, but just know if the horny police come for me, they better come correct.
Pause.
Nah, unpause me. Unpause me. Yo, I'm comfortable with my sexuality. And also, if I was a
No,
bi
no.
man, no, if I was a bi or a gay man, I want to let some of y'all men know out here, y'all would not be able to afford me. So what's up?
No, as much as you say pause. No, 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 no. I will not unpause you because you say pause to me more than anyone. I only hear pause from you.
Yeah, but like, what did my mom used to tell me? What my mom used to tell me? Do as I say, not as I do. So I'm, I'm gonna keep on pausing these because sometimes some things be sounding like crazy when you hear them. Like when someone says like I'm itching for you, and I'm like whoa.
Big
Yo, you know what's
pause.
funny? Do the pause rules extend to the workplace? Like, would you say pause to someone if they said
Oof.
something wild in the
Nah,
workplace?
nah, I'm not risking my job. I would not say pause at the workplace. Nope.
But is that
I, w-
ooh, okay,
I would
okay,
just
but
say,
like,
whoa. You know what?
so my
I don't
question
know. You
there
know what?
is does
Depends on the
does
person because
that
I have said pause at work, but only to certain people who understand.
okay? So my question then is it bad to say pause at the workplace if you don't mean it? Like if you're talking to a dude and you know the dude you're talking to is a straight man, and y'all like having lunch, and he said something like, "Yo, let me get a piece of that." In reference to like your lunch, and you kind of look at it and you say, "Whoa, hey," hit him with the, "Hey, yo, pause." Like that's wild.
It depends on the
Or
person.
if you sipping some water at the table with your coworker, and your coworker be like, "Yo, can I get a sip of that?" Hey, yo.
Like I would just say no. But
First off,
yes, it
sharing food and drinks with coworkers is wild. Just to begin.
yes, we should not be doing that. That is, yeah, that's more than a pause. I don't know what we would call that, but I would say pause at work if I was comfortable with that person and they understood it is a
Right.
joke and it's not rooted in anything.
I also want to let it be known, and then we can kind of we can jump into some housekeeping items here. I also want to let it be known, people, that your coworkers are not your friends, and if your coworkers happen to be your friends, that means y'all should definitely establish a coworker time and friend time. Like in coworker
Yes.
time, this is all work. Don't take nothing personal. Like I got love for you. In friend time, we friendly. But if you're friends with your coworkers, just know y'all got to teeter that line. But most of the time, just know your coworker is not your friend. And if they got to choose between you and them in terms of throwing who under the bus, just know I have yet to meet anyone that I've ever worked with that will throw their own ass under the bus.
Yes, I agree. And then the second thing about coworkers is I don't care how fine they are, do not sleep with your coworker. All right, so this show's about to by this show,
Listen, This show is brought to us by who?
By goingfor2.com. Head over to goingfor2.com for all your daily fantasy needs. Dynasty drafts are around the corner. Get some tips, D. We can talk if we have time later now. We can talk about our Dynasty League and the draft debacle and the draft fiasco. Again, head over to goingfor2.com for all your fantasy needs. Play Underdog Fantasy with the Going for Two. For those of you who are watching the live or watching the replay, scan that QR code, head over to Underdog Fantasy, and you get up to $100 deposit match. For those on the audio adventure, go to Underdog Fantasy, use promo code GF2. That is G as in going, F as in 4, and the number 2, and you get up to $100 deposit match. D, the chat is on fire, and we are just getting started. The people are very interested in. Whoa, people are very interested in coworkers and sleeping with their coworkers. Gladys said, "Work in a bar, baby." Whoa,
Gladys, as someone who's dated a woman who is a bartender and has some previous experience with women and other previous experiences with women who've worked in bars, I will say that, let's just say, working in the restaurants, you never know. You don't know how many coworkers sleep together until you work in like a restaurant. Everybody's fucking at a restaurant. Fellas, if your girl works in a restaurant, I'm gonna let you know there's like a 60 or 70% chance that she is serving some things up other than food and drinks. I'm gonna tell you right now. You think she's serving up them quesadillas and burgers? She's serving a little bit of salmon on a plate.
All right. Jamie said that we're not doing this. We not planting seeds of insecurity in people tonight. Jamie said that he messed up.
You think she bringing out them? You think she bringing out them Shamrock Shake, but she's shaking something else around that bar. Fellas, protect your mental health, brother. And shout out to the ladies out here who work in bars because y'all are incredible. And make sure you always tip your bartender.
No, don't. Yo.
Oh, shout out to everyone! Shout out to everyone in the chat, though. I see Gladys, I see Jamie, I see Bam, I see Keely just hopped in. He said if she works, I think Keely said if she works in the restaurant, she might work for the streets. I'm not going to confirm nor deny that. Bam said if your girl works at a fire station with the sad emoji. Bam, if your girl works at a fire station, I'm actually mad curious about her day to day. Like, was she? Never mind. Danny, today we are going to be talking about. We're going to start off in the NFL. Obviously, right after our recording last week, Aaron Rodgers met with Pat McAfee. We're going to dive a little bit into that. We're going to talk about what this means potentially for the AFC. We're also going to talk about some other free agent moves and what we're thinking about them. Then we're actually going to shift a little bit to the UFC and talk a little bit about Kumaru Usman and Leon Edwards as they finish off their trilogy, and also talk about some of our favorite sports trilogies out here. And then we're going to shift over, of course, to basketball, starting with the NCAA tournament for both the men and the women. And then we're going to continue our look ahead to the end of the NBA regular season. And on the back end, we'll finish with a few quick hitters. I know both of us really want to talk about Rick Pitino getting a new job and what that means for privileged white men. So let's start off in the world of the NFL and football. Danny, right after our conversation last week, literally maybe a day or so after, Aaron Rodgers announces he's going on the Pat McAfee show. Shout out Pat McAfee. Love your show. You're doing great things. But essentially, he goes on Pat McAfee's show and confirms to the people that he does intend to play next year, not for the Green Bay Packers. And in actuality, he is looking for a trade to the New York Jets. And as of right now, Aaron Rodgers says the only thing that's holding up this trade is the compensation that the Packers would get via this trade. So, Danny, I'm going to start by asking you one question. Who do you think has the leverage here between the Jets and the Packers now that Aaron Rodgers has put this information out?
You talked about it last week. I don't know if you talked about it on there, if you and I talked about it off air. It's the Packers. Packers have all the leverage in the world. I know Aaron wants to leave. I know he wants to go to the Jets and the Jets alone. So the Jets, you're going to give me whatever the fuck I want for this dude if you about winning the way you said you are. Because you can't do this. Flop on Aaron Rodgers and then turn to Zach Wilson and be like, hey man, you QB1. Can't do it. You got to go get Aaron.
Listen, I definitely think we might have chatted about this last week on air. I said right now, and it's sort of similar to how I kind of picturing it planning out last week when I talked about it. I said the one thing that could happen here is that Rodgers comes out and says he wants to trade, and that the trade, like he wants to go to the Jets, and essentially now you're on a one-on-one with the Jets. essentially. You're letting everyone else know, hey, I want him. This is our guy. And now, if you're the Jets, you kind of have to make this deal for multiple reasons. One, to your point, you can't make this noise. You can't get behind all this backing of supporting Aaron Rodgers and then let this deal fiddle out, because it's hard to go back to Zach Wilson now and tell him, yo, you're the QB of our future. Wouldn't surprise me right now if they're also trying to figure out a way to get Zach Wilson included in that deal too. Sorry, Zach. We good. We got our QB. Two, I think the Jets owe it to Jets fans. You have already sold this idea of Aaron Rodgers to not only the rest of the team. We saw some of the players tweeting it out, but you sold this to your Jets fans. And if one thing I know about Jets fans, they're not Giants fans in the sense that they've seen their team win in the last 20 years at least twice. The Jets haven't seen their team win since Joe Namath was playing quarterback. That should say something. That should let you know the Jets fan base, Jets Nation is hungry for a win. They're hungry for some success. So there's a lot of pressure on the general manager, on the coaching staff, and on the ownership by the Jets faithful and the Jets season ticket holders to get this deal done, especially if you want to put asses in seats next season, because I think without Aaron Rodgers, you're not going to have a good football product to really put out there on the field. I also think the third reason why I think the Jets have to get this done is I think the Jets owe it to their players. They saw what this football team looked like last year with very subpar QB play, and the Jets are looking at it as we have a very young defense. We have the offensive and defensive rookie of the year. We only have, 2 or 3 years max with this core roster to potentially try to win a championship before someone here has to get paid, and that's before someone like a Quinnen Williams has to get paid potentially. We have to maximize this the best we can. We got to make this trade. So I think the Packers have a lot of leverage. So now my question is, if you're the Packers, remember I talked about this last week. If you're the Packers, you're telling them there are certain players that have to be included in this deal. Like I told you last week, if you're going to take my best player, I want your best player. You told me last week that might be crazy. I want to revisit it and say, hey, it's not as crazy as you may think. You want Aaron Rodgers? That's cool. That's cool. Let us have Quinnen Williams and your first round pick. Rodgers is yours. That would be me. That would be me, though.
That would be you. That
so
sounds like you.
Let's just say this trade happens, right? Let's just say Aaron Rodgers gets traded to the Jets. We don't know what the compensation will be. Let's assume it's a little bit more fair on the Packers side than it is the Jets side. Where do you think this leaves the rest of the AFC with Aaron Rodgers now in it?
It moves the needle a little bit, but I don't think it moves the needle enough to make a lot of noise. Even with Aaron Rodgers, are the Jets even the best team in the AFC East?
Let's talk about it. About it.
Could they go toe-to-toe with the Dolphins or the Bills? Maybe. Like at best, you're a wild card team. Like you do this move, right? It's Aaron Rodgers, right? But you're expecting a 40-year-old man to play at an MVP level because that's what he's going to play at if the Jets legitimately have a shot to make a noise in the playoffs. You got to go through Josh twice. You got to go through Miami's defense twice. And even if you get through that, Joe Burrow's right there. Patrick Mahomes is there. Justin Herbert is there. I don't get to join up, but he's still Russell Wilson. He's there. Lamar Jackson is there. Like there's a murderer's row standing in front of it. It's Aaron Rodgers. You do the deal. Like I'm not saying you don't do it, but
definitely
does it? Like if they get Rodgers, am I like, oh man, the Jets are coming out the AFC? Nah, I don't think they're coming out the AFC. Like at best, they're a wild card team to me.
See, I don't even want to go before I even go into like what this means as a conference. Let's stick in the division where you started at. Yo, even if you get this trade done, you're going to lose. In my opinion, you're going to lose some pieces, whether that's on offense or defense. You're going to lose a good player one of your best 22 players. You're going to lose in this deal, and likely some draft capital. So now my question is, do you think the roster that would be left would be enough to one? Beat the Dolphins at least. I mean, beat the Dolphins at least one time, because you would have to be successful in your division. Let's just say you have to split with everyone. Yeah. You just win 3 games. Let's say you win 2 games on the road, 2 games at home, 1 divisional game on the road. That means you'd have to start by splitting with the Dolphins. Well, just off of just off the matchups last year, the Dolphins are not really the best matchup for the Jets. It's tough to defend that much speed on the field. Okay,
Yep.
so y'all split that matchup. So now you got to see how you match up against the winners of that division and the Buffalo Bills. Well, I would say from 1 to 53. Some may say the Bills may have a better 1 through 53 than the Jets do. So now it's about quarterback play. I know what Aaron Rodgers brings to the table. I know what he does for a franchise, but does he do enough for the Jets franchise to power them over the Bills? I'm not quite sure about that. And then the team that you kind of skipped over, like they some hoes, I think is going to be their biggest adversary, the New England Patriots. Oh, we all know, if you know football, since Tom Brady left, the New England Patriots are not going to put a Dolphins or a Bills like offense on the field, but they are easily going to put the best defense in that division out on the field. So now, can your offense outthink a Bill Belichick defense enough to win twice? Because I think they would have to sweep the Patriots and win one game against the Dolphins and or the Bills. I think that's hard just in your division. So now you're looking, as you mentioned, at a wild card spot. Now let's open this bad boy up some. Let's assume Lamar will be back with the Ravens. Does this move put you over the hump to be able to maybe beat the Ravens in Baltimore if it came down to it in the wild card race? Does this Jets team put you in a position to go to Kansas City or have Kansas City come to you, in a late season game in order to lock up your wild card spot, assuming that's where you're headed? Is the same team good enough to beat the Bengals, who are likely going to be the class of the AFC North? Does it put you in a position where you can compete with the Steelers, who are always going to field a good enough team that can be competitive? Is this roster going to be good enough to go toe to toe with the Browns, who are a lot better than their record shows? They just didn't have consistent QB play, and they were dealing with a lot. I'm not even going to mention the other team. Well, no, I did mention that's all the teams in the AFC North. So then, does this put you over the edge to beat a Justin Herbert and the Chargers? Like, the AFC is not where it's sweet. If I'm a QB, I want to get traded to the NFC because there's a little bit more wiggle room depending on where division and where roster you go to. Does this roster put you in a position where you could even take on the best team in the AFC South, the Jacksonville Jaguars, if they're still the team to beat? I don't know. There's a lot of question marks on the roster. And another thing is, if the thing in Green Bay was you wanted better receivers, or maybe you didn't like the communication, or maybe you were going there for Nathaniel Hackett and what his offense can do. Well, now I have to ask, in the conversation of other offenses in the AFC, where does this put you in a position competitively where you can honestly compete? I don't know if, as I'm looking at this Jets roster, if they can honestly compete in the AFC. But I guess for me, the needle for me is probably it inches a little bit the Jets' way, but it doesn't move the needle completely for me, because when I think of the totality of the AFC, that's still a very, very tough conference. Very, very tough conference.
I'd like to take a second to read some of the Jets' opponents next year that aren't in the division. Cowboys, the Broncos, let's see, the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Eagles, the Browns.
So they play both teams that were in. They play both teams that are in the Super Bowl. You said they play the Bengals?
No, they don't play the Bengals. They play the Browns, Eagles, and this is teams that aren't in a division. Browns, Eagles, Chargers, Chiefs. Let's see, and then they play the Cowboys, the Broncos, and they play the Raiders. There are some other teams in there that I won't mention because they're really not that good. But yeah, for the most part, the Jets are going to have hard games every single week.
It's tough, whether it's in the division or out. That's tough. So you can only hope that if you're the Jets and Rodgers, that whatever team that you're left with after this trade is able to compete. My thing is, without leaving enough ambiguity out there for the Packers to consider that, you may be trying to make this trade with somewhere else. Once you make it known that, once you make it known that Rodgers is our guy and that's who we're trading for, you're locked in, buddy. Y'all got to get this deal done. Hey, Quinnen Williams, you're going to look great in another shade of green. That's all I got to say.
Was that a pause moment? That felt like a pause moment.
And how? He's going to look great in another shade of green?
I don't know. It just didn't feel right. Maybe that's
See,
just me being
look
overly
at people.
pausing.
Y'all see him? He trying to be the pause police. Don't even know what he pausing. Nah, play me. Bam said if the
Play.
price of Rodgers is too high, might as well go sign Cam. If you're saying Cam Newton, Bam, I'm just going to say that is criminal activity, and don't wish that upon Cam Newton. He don't deserve that. Achilles says, I think the team will still be sorry as fuck, but at least the front office could learn stuff from Rodgers. There's a very good chance. I definitely think that's a very good chance. Again, I think at least Brett Favre retired and then came back and said, trade me to the Jets. This guy said he was thinking about retirement, but then decided against it, came back, and the energy was different. What do you think? Now, when you heard that, what do you think changed the front office's mind? Or do you think their mind was already made up? They were just trying to play nice because that is their quarterback, and he's been a franchise cornerstone.
The latter. I think the Packers wanted to move on from Aaron Rodgers for a couple of years now. Now they about to do it.
I think this was the year. I think last year they were probably like, look, we were average, and this team is only declining, and we've locked up a couple of guys for a few more years. If we're gonna stink, we might as well stink with our guy that we drafted, so that way we know in about a year or two if we need to draft someone else. It's hard for us to keep doing this, Aaron, if you're still on the roster, because we know who you are, we know what you do, and we know as long as you're here, the mode is always going to be win now, win a championship. Cap wise, our cap isn't saying win a championship. Our cap is saying it might be time for a rebuild.
Yes.
So, but this is a good way for the Packers to compete and rebuild at the same time, because I feel like if they're competitive, then it's like, okay, maybe we can trade some pieces. Maybe we can trade some pieces and intentionally maybe look to bring in another piece for Jordan Love, considering maybe our receivers develop, but they're still not a clear number one. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we need to bring in a veteran wide receiver to help mold these guys. Like, I think the Packers are going to be in a decent spot. I don't expect them to compete next year, but truth be told, I don't expect any of these two teams in this deal to really compete next year.
That's fair.
So, speaking of competing, we saw two men compete for the 170-pound crown in the UFC. Kumaru Usman and Leon Edwards finished their trilogy, with Leon Edwards having his hand raised and still the champion via unanimous decision, which maybe to some surprised most after watching how Kumaru Usman dominated the second fight. But at the end, Leon Edwards has staked his claim as the king of the 170-pound division. So this brings me to a conversation that I wanted to have with you, Danny. When we step out from the UFC and we start thinking about sports matchups, and usually we're talking about sports matchups that likely end in trilogies, right? Maybe we talk about Kumaru Usman versus Leon Edwards. We talk about Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. There's a lot of matchups have given us multiple matchups of Titans, right? Of the same Titans. So in these sort of best out of two trilogies, my first question to you is, who has the advantage, the loser of the first matchup or the loser of the second matchup?
So I need a lot more context, but general rule of thumb for me is the person who won the second fight can walk into the third with more confidence, knowing that he just beat that person. Now, again, there needs to be context. Like if it's fight two and the person who lost the first fight gets a lucky knockout, then I would say the person who won the first time. It's all dependent on the variables, but for me, I'd feel more confident walking into anything for the third time, knowing I just did it.
All right, so I'll paint a picture for you. This is one that's going to hit home, so please don't be mad at me.
Okay.
Eagles lost in the Super Bowl. We know next year.
I don't like this conversation.
We know next year the Eagles have to go to Kansas City to play again.
Yeah.
So let's just say that the Eagles win that matchup, but they win it by 2 on a 2-point conversion to end the game. The Eagles and Chiefs match up again in the next Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Who has the advantage?
So my question would be: was it a day that Patrick Mahomes went off and threw for 4 touchdowns, or is it a day that the Eagles kept him in check?
The Chiefs performed like the Chiefs. Okay. The Eagles performed like the Eagles. Very similar to the Super Bowl. Only instead of the game-winning touchdown, it's a game-winning 2-point conversion by way of the Eagles. Who has the advantage in the third matchup?
I would say the Eagles. I'd go back to I just beat you in Kansas City. Now we're playing on a neutral field. That would be my thinking going in. I'm sure a Chiefs fan would say, "Hey, that's not going to happen again. You got lucky with a 2-point conversion. That's not going to happen." I would say, if I were the Eagles, there's something to be said about walking into Arrowhead and beating Patrick Mahomes. That
See,
still means something.
and to your point about Chiefs fans, I actually disagree, and I would definitely put the onus on the Chiefs in that situation. Y'all I beat y'all with a ring on the line. Then next year, y'all came to our house. We were still giving y'all that work for most of this game, and y'all skated by off a 2-point conversion. Now on a neutral field on a stage where I've already beaten you with these lights on. And I've gotten y'all's best game in the rematch, in the second matchup, because that was the matchup y'all was mad. I think in that situation the Chiefs have the mental edge. They have the I think they have the mental edge, and I think they have the game plan edge. I got 2 of y'all's best games, and one time I beat y'all. The other time y'all won on a 2-point conversion. That game could have went either way. We are really the better team.
But I could say as an Eagles fan, you won the Super Bowl because Bradbury, held him, right? I can say as an Eagles fan, if Jalen had the ball last, he would have driven down the field and won. If Quez Watkins would have caught that perfect ball from Jalen and they score, it's a different story. I can say the same thing.
It's just like let's take it to basketball in the NBA, 2015, Cavs and Warriors. Yep. Warriors win, but we all know what happened to Kyrie and K-Love. Next year, Warriors lose, but we all know what happened to the Draymond suspension. Yep. Really, that was it. That was the one thing they can basically hold their hat on was the Draymond suspension, although they still had a game 7, but the Cavs win. So they come back the next year, but this time the Warriors, not only do they spank them, they beat them down. Like it wasn't close.
Well, they had Kevin Durant, though.
But see? But the Warriors could say, hey, y'all have LeBron James.
That's fair. I hear you. I think it takes a lot of there's a lot of context to each one. But for me, if I'm going in, I just beat you and I got to come beat you again. Okay, I just did it. It's coming from I beat you the first time, you beat me the second time. The counter for which you used to beat me the second time.
And I will say this to the trilogies out here, and after this we'll talk about some of our favorite trilogies. But to the trilogies out here where the person wins the first matchup, then loses the second matchup, then they come back and win the third matchup. I don't think people realize how hard mentally that is. That is and in all seriousness, when you win the first and the third matchup, after you win the third matchup, your mental is I feel like mentally you probably feel like you're unstoppable because even your greatest threat and challenge, because if you haven't really been a successful athlete and you haven't experienced a lot of success, you may not know what it's like to be at the top of your game and then lose and have to build yourself back up to be at a championship. That is hard, yo. Like, why do y'all think so many athletes will retire on top? Because in your mind, you can never guess what would have happened if I lost, because that thought never entered your mind. But when you do lose, well, that's tough. That's tough. Yeah. That's tough. So with that, Danny, can you give me one or two of your favorite sports trilogies? It doesn't have to just be in boxing. It could be in any sport.
So I did a lot of digging today. There's a theme with the ones that I picked. It's just someone getting ass beat. But one that really stuck out to me was the Spurs and Mavericks have played each other like 5 times in the playoffs, but I'm going to focus on the first 3, 01, 03, 06. The Spurs beat the Mavs in 01 and in 03. The Mavs broke through in 06. For those who don't know, that's the Dirk Nowitzki drive. He gets fouled by Ginobili. The ball spins on the hoop and falls. Dirk hits his free throws. The Mavs, and that's when he goes to the finals. He gets cheated and loses to Dwayne Wade. We're just talking about the Spurs. That's probably my favorite trilogy. My second favorite trilogy, it's a tie, and they both deal with LeBron James. It's LeBron Wizards from 06 to 08 when he just beats the hell out of them 3 years in a row. And then LeBron against the Raptors, 2016 to 2018, when he just beats the hell out of the Raptors 3 years in a row.
LeBron versus the Raptors was definitely one of mine. Because I think mentally from both the Raptors and the Cavs, right? the Cavs, when you're on LeBron's team all 3 of those years, after the second year, I know you're starting to think they have to have this figured out. They have to have this figured out in some
Yeah.
way. And this guy in 2018 just single-handedly
Sweeps you.
beat the Raptors. Like the Raptors easily should have won that series in 2018, but there was just a behemoth on the other side that they just could not get over. I think that speaks to the greatness. Another one I want to speak to, Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. I think this speaks to your argument, right? Tyson Fury looked at that first fight and said, "Yo, you got me off that punch. First fight. I'm going to give you that. But next fight, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just out technically box you in front of the world so the world can see when you can't knock me out, you cannot beat me." All right? So now after Tyson Fury was the second one, now it's the third fight. Now it's I'm going to embarrass you this time. I'd improved I can beat you. Now I'm going to just embarrass you. And boy, that third fight had black people all across the country wondering if this was the correct Black History Month that one of our black legends gets their asses handed to him like this by a white man from the UK too. If he was a black American getting beat up by a white UK person, we went back like 300-400 years back to Queen Elizabeth's glory days.
Not
But
Queen
that's neither here
Elizabeth.
nor there. The last trilogy that I really, really, really love, and I think this is just because of some nostalgia, Stone Cold versus The Rock. Stone Cold won the first two. But the third match, this is when they were, I would say, a little bit past their prime, past their WWE prime, but their popularity was still at an all-time high. That's when they were straddling the fence of if they're still in WWE or if they're full-on movie actors, and they came together for that third one, and The Rock got his one, and that was all he needed. That cemented him like, yo, I'm one of the Titans. I'm one of the greats.
Rock has never beaten Stone Cold at WrestleMania, though, right? Or is that third one a WrestleMania match?
I thought that third one was at WrestleMania. I might be tripping.
It probably was. I know there was maybe it was after the first two. It was like The Rock's never pinned him at WrestleMania.
I think that's
maybe
what
that's
I'm
remembering.
I think that was a storyline going into the third one. Yeah. Which shout out to Vince for letting The Rock get one, because like, could you imagine had he beat him like 3 times in a row? Other honorable mentions I want to mention here: Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Now I'm looking back on it. We probably will never get another Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar match, but appreciate it while we have it.
Listen, I think we really don't appreciate Roman, and we will once he's gone.
Yeah, once he loses his belt, we're going to really appreciate it. People, to all my WWE fans out here, to be the champion of the WWE, to be the WWE champion, you don't realize how hard you have to be able to carry that brand on your back.
The Undisputed, he's carrying both shows. Yo, last night he was spitting. Did you watch that promo against Rhodes?
Oh yeah, spitting that real. I'm just like, yo, like I'm over here like, Vince, just give him the belt for a little bit longer. Just let him get. But then
it's Triple H. Vince isn't running creative anymore.
Triple H, just let him keep the belt for a little bit longer. But then I guess if I'm Vince, like, he's trying to build up Cody to be like this big hero, but I don't know, man. The belt is so much better when a heel has the belt.
Yeah, the bloodline.
Because when you're a face, it's like, we know you're going to find a way to win, but when a heel is the champion, it's like, yo, how are you going to fuck over someone in order to win?
Yo, breaking nothing better than the heel winning, and they go into the audience and see a little kid crying like, oh no, like the world is I thought it was. Best thing in professional wrestling.
My favorite type of heel championship matches, and this is the last thing I'm going to say on this, my favorite type of heel championship matches is when the heel's been getting their ass kicked for like 70% of this match and they get disqualified for using the chair. I crack up laughing every single time.
That's me.
Because I'm like, yo, dog, you probably would have done that way earlier in the match had you had the chance.
That is me. If I were a champ, I'm just going to walk in, grab a chair, beat you in the head. Hey, still champ. Got to go.
Oh, man. Speaking of championships, in college basketball, national champions are being decided.
Yep.
In the men's and women's NCAA tournament, I mean, we saw a lot of championship dreams die, and we saw a lot of championship dreams continue to live on. Let's start in the men's side, right? The Sweet 16 matchups are set, Danny. I need to know, which Sweet 16 matchup are you most looking forward to before we talk about our brackets?
I'm going to make a confession. I forgot to fill out a bracket, so I've really enjoyed this because I don't have anything online. I'm just watching for fun. It is about that time for Gonzaga to be Gonzaga and show us
Oh,
that they're frauds. So I'm looking forward to the UCLA Gonzaga game because Gonzaga is going to be Gonzaga. And then I'm looking forward to UConn Arkansas. Listen, it's something about UConn. Like once they reach a certain point, they're winning the national championship. If they beat Arkansas, UConn will be in the Final Four. I don't make the rules. I just know when UConn goes on a run, they go on the men's UConn team because the women's UConn is on a run. When the men's UConn team goes on a run, they go on a run.
yeah, that's true. Man, that is a good one. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't have UConn. I thought I had UConn losing to VCU and in the round of 32, just because I was
Mhm.
trying to show the 804 some love. Boy, I was wrong. Boy, I was wrong.
Yeah.
VCU didn't even make that the first weekend. I would say outside of the Gonzaga UCLA game, Texas and Xavier is a really intriguing matchup. I think that's going to
Yeah.
be a really, really good one. And I'm going to be honest with you. Creighton and Princeton. I'm very intrigued to see how
Okay.
Princeton comes back, being a 15 seed who beat Arizona, which threw off everybody. And then Creighton knocking off Baylor. I mean, I've been pretty high on the Big 12 throughout this conference. Not going to hold you. I had 3 Big 12 teams in the Final Four: Kansas State, Texas, and Kansas. Only 2 of those teams still remain. So who knows? But I thought the Big 12 was probably the best basketball conference in the country for most of this year. And then Alabama and San Diego State. I watched Alabama. I don't know if you watched the Alabama game, the Alabama games over the weekend. Alabama to me looked like the best team in in the tournament.
Because
And
they are.
I think they're going to be dangerous. Like, listen, y'all keep making them jokes about what's his name, Brandon Miller. Y'all keep making them jokes. I think that's only bringing him and this team closer and making them more mad. Y'all keep y'all keep playing with fire and then getting mad when it burns you. Stop playing with them.
Let me ask you a
Stop
question.
playing with them. Talk to me.
Is Big East basketball back? Because three of the last 16 teams are in the Big East. Creighton, Xavier, and UConn and Marquette just got ousted this weekend. So that's four. Like, is the Big East back? Are we talking about Big East basketball again?
I think when we talk a little bit later about a certain coach who just got hired to the Big East, I think we got to start looking at the Big East as a conference that might start putting a couple more teams in the tournament consistently. And I'm gonna tell you like this: the Big East makes a strong comeback. Y'all will see the downfall of the ACC. When I say I'm
Yes.
calling it,
Yes.
y'all are going to, if the
Yes.
Big East comes back, y'all are going to see the downfall of the ACC. And if you ask me why, I'm going to say this: from a football perspective, you already have the heavy hitters already looking for ways to get out because they're seeing the money that the SEC and the Big Ten is getting. From a basketball perspective, you're looking at the top teams: Duke, UNC, Syracuse, some of these other top teams. They're going to be looking at what their football program's doing, and they're going to say, "Hey, we can do something too." If I'm the
And
ACC, I'm gonna get ahead of that. If I'm the ACC, all right. Staying in the bracket. Let's shift over to the women's side of the
yes.
NCAA tournament. I'm curious to know if did you make a bracket, and two, what does your bracket look like for this one?
I did not. For me, it was my bracket. My bracket for the women's side. It's South Carolina. South Carolina is the best team in the country. It's just a matter of who they gonna beat in the national championship game. A piece of me wants it to be UConn because I want Dawn to kick Gino's ass in front of America one more time for a national championship. Or, well, I think if LSU and South Carolina meet, it would be in the Final Four. I think they meet UConn in the championship game. So I would love to see Dawn Staley beat up Malky and LSU, and then go beat Gino and just put this to bed that she's the best coach in the country. She has the best program in the country. So I
Yeah,
didn't fill out a bracket for the women.
man, I'm gonna be honest with you. So in my bracket, I have South Carolina going all the way to the championship game. I think as most people in America do. But when I watch them, dog, it's just it's not fair. It's a
It's
bunch of
not
grown women
fair.
playing with girls. Like Shout out to Don and that South Carolina program. They are some beast. I think for me, I mean, I would say I'd say 32. They said 30. It said 32% of my bracket is right. I mean, and I got most of the see with the women's tournament. It's more likely that all the higher ranked teams or the lower
Mhm.
seeded teams, however you want to call it,
Yeah.
it's easier for them to get to the path because you know the dominant teams from the non-dominant. It's like once you start getting to the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, where you might get some upsets happening. I mean, but right now, I mean, I got South Carolina. I had South Carolina playing Oklahoma. They're playing UCLA. I picked Oklahoma to beat UCLA. I got Notre Dame and Maryland right. I didn't get Ole Miss and Stanford. I mean, Ole Miss and Louisville right.
Yeah,
I had
that was
Stanford and Texas.
that Ole Miss game was
I was not
a
expecting that.
revelation.
Was not expecting that. I didn't
Yo,
expect Colorado to beat Duke, but I also didn't
yeah.
expect Duke to play Colorado. I thought I had Duke playing Middle Tennessee State, believe it or not. I thought Middle Tennessee State was going to
Okay.
upset Colorado. Um, and then on the other side, y'all see me. If you can't, y'all see me. Come on now, Virginia Tech Hokies. I got the Hokies going all the way to the Final Four, and I have them
Yes.
beating UConn on the way to do it. I'm not even giving
I'm
UConn the
here
chance
for
to
it.
make it there.
I'm here for
I
it.
have Virginia Tech beating UConn in the Sweet 16. I mean,
So
in the
this
Elite Eight
weekend.
after
Oh, okay.
no, after they beat Tennessee. I think Virginia Tech is going to beat Tennessee. I also think they're going to beat UConn if they play them. But I mean, that matchup I wasn't too off. I had UConn making the Sweet 16. I had them playing UNC. Obviously, UNC lost a little bit, lost to Ohio State, who's now playing UConn, and
Yep.
then LSU, who I have in the Final Four playing Virginia Tech. I had
Okay.
them playing NC State. They're playing Utah, which is fair. And then I had okay. This was the upset I think everyone was not expected. Miami beating Indiana is not what I had on my board at
Did
all.
you see old girl hit those free throws and shush the crowd?
Yep. Yep.
Yo, Miami beat Indiana in both men's and women's, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that is cool. That's cool. Man, I just feel like, yo, as cool as everyone thinks it is to see these, 16 and 9, 10, 15, 6 seeds beat these one seeds. I am one of those people who pay attention to the reactions of the kids on the one seed, and you just see the devastation. And that
Oh
is why
yeah.
they just listen. Being a one seed, unless you're like a South Carolina, is not a good thing. Being a 1, 2, or 3 seed, if you're not a South Carolina or Alabama on the men's side, where you know you're just better than other teams, is not a good thing because you start feeling yourself. I like Tom Izzo's way. You give me a middle seed, watch us work. Just watch us work.
I just need a
Just
6
watch us
seed.
work.
I will say, if you don't watch any game or on the women's side, Iowa, Colorado, and just watch Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is the guard for Iowa.
She
That
gets
girl is a fucking flamethrower.
Yep. She gets cooking.
She shot a three from the logo in the game against who they play. It wasn't Maryland. I watched that game. Dog, she
They
scored
played
like
Georgia.
yeah, Georgia. Dog, she scored like the last 25 of Iowa's 26 points. Something bananas like that.
Got to be like
Dog.
that. So I actually have Iowa in my Final Four.
Yes, and you should.
The only problem with that is if Iowa makes to the Final Four, the team that I think we all are anticipating them playing is South Carolina.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Her journey ends against Dawn Staley, but it's still a cool story. Like we talk about Sabrina Ionescu and WNAB and Steph Curry. No, Caitlin Clark shooting from the logo is very Steph Curry-ish. So just enjoy it while you can, because yeah, if she running to South Carolina, that's a wrap. South Carolina
Yeah.
can put any lineup on the floor. They can play big, they can play small, they can play fast, it doesn't matter. Like they can beat you however you want to be beat. So like just enjoy the ride. And if you see South Carolina, get ready for the draft.
Yeah. The other side of my Final Four, get this. I got LSU playing Virginia Tech.
That'll be a good matchup.
I'm ashamed to say I got LSU winning that one.
And you should. LSU is the better team, which is
I got
okay.
LSU winning. I got LSU winning that one. I got my championship game being South Carolina versus LSU again, which produced a lot of very close games. Well,
Yes. I watched the
close.
one that was in South Carolina. That was a good game.
It's a good
Dog.
game.
Aaliyah Boston will be #1 pick in the draft. Let her go out on top.
Shout out to the South Carolina Gamecocks. Shout out to Don Staley. That's an incredible program they got over there. I'm looking forward to
Best in the
seeing the Sweet
country.
16 and the Elite Eight. I think these are going to be some really, really good matchups on the men's and women's side. And I want to really encourage, if you enjoy the men's side, I really, really hope you're not doing yourself a disservice and not watching the women's tournament, because there is some really, really good basketball being played by the women collegiate basketball players. So shout out to everyone in the tournament, and shout out to everyone whose journey ended this past week. Hey, if there's one thing that I always learned in the opening weekend of the NCAA tournament is how proud a lot of these programs are just to make it there, win or lose. Like, you see the emotion in the press conference of these programs, guys crying, coaches crying. You guys got to know, like, I know a lot of people want their teams to go far. A lot of people get a little testy on these kids and these coaches after they lose, but a lot of people don't realize some programs, their biggest accomplishment of the season is just making it to the tournament.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Some teams winning a game in the tournament is their national championship, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
Like,
that's them boys at FDU, how it feels to beat Purdue.
Great. They're not upset though. I'm not gonna wish that, but just know, as they look ahead at their next matchup, they're thinking back to them Purdue boys like, yeah, y'all thought shit was sweet playing us. Now what? So
they almost won the second game.
You're right. They almost did. All right. Let's shift over to the NBA.
Let's do it.
All right. In the Eastern Conference in the NBA, the Bucks and Celtics have pretty much, well, no, not pretty much. They have secured their playoff spot. So outside of the the big three Eastern Conference teams, in the Bucks, the Celtics, and we're going to presume that the Philadelphia 76ers, and by the next time we record, will have locked up their playoff spot. Outside of them, what trends are you seeing in the Eastern Conference as we look ahead to the play-in tournament?
The only trend, I only took one note on the Eastern Conference. The New York Knicks are fun. That's all I had. Like,
you think so?
Outside of those three, the one, I don't think the Knicks are going to make any noise in the playoffs. I'm not saying the Knicks are going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but they're fun. I enjoy watching Knicks basketball, especially when Julius Randle is cooking. Jalen Brunson was a great addition. Though even though they lost, 50-plus burger. Like, the Knicks are fun. And that, if you're a Knicks fan, that's all you can ask for, if we're being honest, is that your team is fun, and they're fun.
They're putting out a good basketball product, and they're competitive. Like, they're mad competitive. One trend I was noticing, though, the Brooklyn Nets might fuck around and hold on to that 6th seed, bro. They might.
That would be.
And I'm saying it's going to be a combination of other teams' ineptitude, but also the Brooklyn Nets' ability to win a game, like 1 or 2 out of every 4 or 5 games. The Brooklyn Nets are just finding ways to win games. I mean, I know they've lost 3 in a row, but they're 5-5 in their last 10 games. So, I mean, they might be on to something. Like, I think if the Nets are able to hold off the Heat for that 6th seed and they can avoid the play-in tournament, then who do they get? They'll probably get they should get the Sixers.
It'll be
right?
5-6. It's 5-6, right? It's 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, 4-5.
Yeah, 3-6, 4-5, 2-7, 1-8.
So,
I'm gonna be honest with you. Whoever gets that 8 seed, you got 4 games, bro. 5 if the Bucks are feeling generous.
Listen, you'd be happy that you in the playoffs, because if you're the 8 seed, that means you were in the play-in.
Yeah. And if I'm the Celtics, I'm hoping that the Hawks fuck around and win that first. Like, if I'm the Celtics and I hold on to the 2 seed, my hope is that the Hawks are the 7th seed.
Yes.
I don't think the Celtics want to play the Heat, because that's not the best matchup for them opening round. Like, that's a 6-game series easily.
Or I would hope the Bulls find a way to string some wins together, maybe beat up on this Bulls team real quick, because they're the 10th right now, so they'd have to win 2 games to get in.
Yeah, but they're I don't know. Have you seen the Chicago Bulls play? They're off and on, day and night. You just don't know which team you're gonna get.
I haven't watched the Chicago Bulls since Derrick Rose left.
What do you think the Bulls do about Lonzo Ball? You heard the
Oh,
story about him having surgery again, possibly being out for next season. Like, what do you do?
he's cooked. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you do. Like, do you just release him? I mean, his money's guaranteed, but like you
Money's
could
guaranteed.
use that roster spot for something else. Like if he's gone, like time to learn Chinese, buddy. Like I don't know what to tell you.
Yo, Adam Silver should have never put that audio out there because now it can only be used against him. Uh, let's shift over. Let's shift over to the Western Conference. Oh, Bam. Okay, this is a good question since we're staying in the Eastern Conference. Bam asked in the latest Michael Jordan news that Michael Jordan is potentially looking to sell majority ownership in the Hornets. Bam is asking in the comments, is Jordan giving up on the Hornets? Bam, yes. He saw what the product was being put on the court in Charlotte, and he said, "Dog, I have 6 rings. I don't have to continue looking at this bullshit, and this bullshit does not have to keep coming out of my payroll. Get this the fuck away from me and let me come up a little bit because y'all suck." I feel like that's what Jordan said. Like, this team sucks, y'all suck. I don't want nothing to do with this anymore. And it wouldn't surprise me if Jordan. Listen to this. This is a hypothesis I have. It wouldn't surprise me if Jordan sells his majority stake because he's getting wind that the NBA may try to either move the Hornets or put a team, like add an expansion team in either Vegas or Seattle, and he wants all in on own it, being a partial owner for one of them. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if in a few years Jordan and LeBron co-own the same NBA team.
That would be something. I would not want to play for that team. That would be a very, very annoying boss. Dog Jordan out there saw LaMelo in those Rick and Morty Pumas and was like, you know what? This ain't for me.
So you wouldn't want to play for a team that's potentially co-owned by LeBron and Michael Jordan? Like if they if they started a team, let's say in Vegas, Jordan and LeBron are the co-owners of this team. You're telling me you wouldn't want to play for this team?
Here's the thing about great players. I always think they're great. Like they would show up to practice every day. Time. So who want to play a little ball? Dog, nah. No.
Maybe LeBron. I don't see Jordan doing that. But
Jordan does it now.
I see Jordan more so being at practices and basically yelling at people. You either gonna try, you either gonna try, or your ass ain't getting paid by me. Y'all done won 16 games this season. Thinking coming in here, y'all making millions of dollars. Y'all only won 16 games this season.
Here's the thing about great players. Things that come naturally to them, they think they can coach it to other people. So Jordan's down there saying, well, why can't you do this? Sir, I am not Michael Jordan. I can't do those things. Same with LeBron. I just can't imagine being in the gym and both of them dudes coming down there asking me why I can't do this or why I don't do that because I'm not LeBron James and I'm not Michael Jordan. That would be so annoying.
Well, you got to imagine that the head coach. It would also depend on the head coach, right? I think the head coach that they hire would definitely have to be one that intakes.
The head coach going to be J.R. Smith.
All right, see, now you disrespecting this my potential franchise with Jordan and LeBron. They would not hire J.R. Smith. They would probably hire someone like who was the coach that helped them win that ring after Ty Lue got fired? David, whatchamacallit? Not Fizdale. It was
not Fizdale. Fizdale's done.
The white dude with the nose. That dude. It have to be someone that LeBron and or Michael Jordan has been coached by. Phil Jackson is not coming out of retirement to coach this team.
You know what? High key, it might be someone like Chauncey Billups. Like I can see them hiring a Chauncey Billups.
But that would assume you're assuming that the Blazers want to let go of Chauncey Billups.
Chauncey, if we talk about 2-3 years down the road, Chauncey will be a free agent.
Well, let me tell you something. If Chauncey leave, Dame leaving. And free Dame. Because I've been watching more Blazers games.
Nope. Ooh, we done with this free Dame shit. He has made a choice. Dame has taken the money time and time again. I do not blame him.
He loves Portland too.
No, he doesn't. Dame, I saw a tweet and I thought it was kind of funny. It was like, Dame loves the money. He know they're gonna be trash. He hide behind that loyalty crap, and then he cashes checks, which is genius. It's a great bag move. But we ain't freeing Dame. Dame don't want to be freed. Dame is making his money. He has no expectations. He's gonna go down to the greatest guards in history to never win a title.
But what
Which
about
is fine.
what about the notion that he don't really care about winning the title?
Which is cool. I don't care. Like, I think you and I have talked about ring culture a lot and how it's polluted sports. Yo, if Dame's like, yo, I want to sit here and make this money and play in Portland, hey, bruh, if I was in your shoes, I'd want to make as much money as I could too while playing at a high level. So I ain't mad at him.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Western Conference, the Blazers are 31-40, and they're about 3.5 games, 4.5 games out of the 10th seed. So I think it's safe to say the Blazers will be out of the play-in tournament. But as you look at the rest of the Western Conference, outside of Denver and Memphis, and I kind of want to say Sacramento too, I think those three teams have solidified themselves in the playoff race. What are some trends you're seeing in the Western Conference as we look ahead to the play-in tournament?
I think the Lakers may be we're at roads at the Lakers season. The Warriors road record, I do not think they're going to repeat. I don't think they'll make it out the first round, depending on the match. I think if they get the Nuggets, I think they could beat the Nuggets. You can tell, like, I have no respect for the Nuggets. Like, I think the Warriors could beat the Nuggets. I think the Lakers could beat the Nuggets in the first round. Like I said, I hope we get a healthy Anthony Davis versus Nikola Jokic in the first round because Anthony Davis is going to eat that man alive. Mavericks keep falling. Luka, know your thigh hurts, dude. Do you want to be in the play-in, or do you want to get the 6th seed and avoid the play-in? I need to get healthy. Kyrie is doing his thing. Jason Kidd called timeouts when teams are making runs. I don't understand why he's so against that. It's the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Like, this is the kind of stuff that gets you fired, and this is the kind of stuff Lucas would be like, hey, I don't have to sit here and take this. I'm one of the best players in the world. I'm top 5. I don't have to sit here and listen to Jason Kidd tell me to dig myself out of a hole. Yo, just call a timeout, B. That's all. Coach, the team's going to run. Just call a timeout. That's all I'm saying. Last thing is, if you're an OKC fan, you have to be elated. Your team is you're close to the play-in tournament. Shy is a superstar, and you have like 70 first-round picks over the next 5 years. Do whatever you want to do. You were competitive this year. If you missed the playoffs, who cares? You have 2 first-round picks. You have 4 first-round picks next year. You're still in the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. Like, if you're an OKC fan, I'd be joyous either way. Doesn't matter what happens. We were competitive.
Yep.
And
they got Chet Holmgren coming back next year. So, I mean, I'm with you. If you're a Thunder fan, this should be an exciting time in your franchise history because you guys are gonna. I mean, you guys are living the dream. You guys are playing with your cake and eating it too. I think one trend I'm noticing is that the Minnesota Timberwolves, they got to get healthy because I think if they get healthy, they could potentially make a run for the 5th or 6th seed and avoid the play-in altogether. I think if you're the teams like the Utah Jazz, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Lakers, I'm with you. We're at a point now where either y'all are going to figure this out, go on a 2, 3, 4 game winning streak, solidify your spot in this play-in tournament, or it may be tank for Wemby time. And that's okay too. Because
that's okay too.
I think when you look at the Mavericks, the Timberwolves, the Thunder, the Jazz, the Lakers, the Warriors, and maybe the Clippers, you don't look at them and say contender. You look at them and say, yeah.
Here's the thing, though, for me about the Mavericks. What does that team look like when Kyrie and Luka are on the floor and they've built some chemistry, right? One on the floor together, they have a losing record. I think they're like 4-7 or something like that. But what does this team look like with some cohesion, with Maxi Kleber back who can actually play some defense? What do the Mavs look like? Could they make the Western Conference Finals? I doubt it, but can they win a round? I think they can win a round.
I think it looks like a team with all the offense in the world and very little defense to stop the other team.
Man, if there's only a coach who specialized in defense that could help the Mavericks out right now, God, I wonder where he is.
Ime Udoka?
No, Jason Kidd's known for his defense. But yes, Ime, you ain't done nothing in Dallas. Get Kidd out of here, Ime Udoka.
Nah, if I'm Ime, I want to stay far away from Texas, Ime. Them Stallions out there, boy. There. Look, you thought them Boston Jones was bad. You get it there with Dallas. Woo! You're gonna be finding
Can
some
we
Mavericks,
address?
all right. You're
Can we
gonna be
address some
finding
of these
some Mavericks.
comments in the Slack? I mean, in the channel.
So Kyle says Dame Lillard wrote an article on the Players Tribune, and he spoke about how loyalty is huge to him. He wants to bring a title to Portland, and he's competitive enough to try. Kyle, the competitor in me like really admires this. I think this is admirable, and I see him doing great things in Portland. Winning a championship is not one of them, but that does not mean that his legacy will be any different. Does not mean he's not Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He's one of the greatest point guards ever. I think. Hey, man, look, Charles Barkley never won a ring, and he's still regarded as one of the best power forwards ever. I think Dame Lillard is going to have a similar trajectory after he finishes, which is something I think he doesn't care about. Like to Dame, I think it's like y'all remember me. However, I'm still gonna get this money, and when I was out there, y'all saw what I did. So
yeah,
shout out to Dame. I mean, like if he likes it, I love it. I guess. Danny, you ready to hit some quick hitters? Because we have a couple things that I know we wanted to speak about that didn't really fit into some of our bigger chats.
Yep.
Let's start with the power of white privilege.
Let's do it.
The power of white privilege lives on. Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino. I see what you did. You said, "Yo, I'm gonna sit on the side. I'm gonna put Iona in the I'm gonna put Iona in the tournament a few times, just so y'all know I'm still him. And when the noise dies down, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna find me another Power 5 job to get." Rick Pitino has now been named the head coach of St. John's.
Let's go.
Let me tell y'all something. This surprised nobody in America, especially if you watched Rick Pitino's last press conference as the Iona head coach. That man had his bags packed, and he knew what time it was already. He was basically like, "Hey, I've loved my time here, Iona, man. And if this is it, well, hope the players did too. And hey, hope they can continue building on this." And I was sitting there like, "Oh, they've already wrote him a check. He's out of there.
He gone, buddy.
He gone." Ladies and gentlemen, St. John said, "We got him. We got our man. We don't care about his previous allegations. Hey, it happened at Louisville, not here." And now
it's a whole other state.
Now it's a whole nother state. And now we have to look at the Big East. Like, is this a whole new conference now?
It is. It absolutely is. My only thing about the Rick Pitino thing is, what scandal we get next from Rick Pitino? We've gotten alleged brothels. Like, what do we get? Are we getting a fight? Is it going to be drug related?
He learned his lesson.
Yeah.
Rick Pitino's still gonna send him to the happy house, but he gonna make sure that happy house is inside of a massage therapist or a licensed massage therapist, or he gonna make sure it's inside of a coffee shop where the happy hour is in the speakeasy. Let me tell y'all something. This is not gonna stop Rick Pitino from doing Rick Pitino things.
Nope.
He's gonna find better ways to get around it.
Oh God.
Bam. That is a great point. So Bam in the chat, for those who are listening via audio, Bam says, after Rick Pitino, Art Browse said he's up next. I agree. Art Browse is looking at Rick Pitino, and he's looking. I bet you, is Art Browse a head coach somewhere, or is he a coordinator somewhere?
I am Googling it right now.
I can tell you right now.
TCU hiring Art Browse's new offensive coordinator. He working his way up.
Where is he at?
He's now TCU offensive coordinator.
Oh yeah, Art Browse has 1 to 2 successful offensive years at TCU before his name's in the coaching hat for some Power 5 school that's looking to fire a coach. Let me tell y'all something. To everyone out here who does not believe in white privilege, to everyone out here who believes that there are real to everyone out here who believes there are real long-term consequences to your actions, look at Art Browse, look at Rick Pitino, and just know, if you get caught doing some foul shit that's not felony, and you may lose your job, just work hard, grind for a few years, stay low, you'll be back. That is what I learned from this.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Art Browse, his son is now the coordinator at TCU. Where the hell is Art Browse? What is he doing right now?
I thought his son was the offensive coordinator at Clemson.
Can someone, Kyle, can you look this up? Because remember, Art Browse, they hired him as the OC at Grambling, and people were like, LOL, what the fuck are you doing? Was it Hugh Jackson? Yeah, Hugh Jackson was doing, so he resigned. And that's the last I heard of Art Browse. I don't know. Where's Art Browse?
Listen. If you're if you're if you're our if you're a head coach and you hire someone like Art Browse, or you hire someone like Rick Pitino to be like your main assistant, like your main assistant, like assistant associate head coach, main assistant, do you listen to the noise or do you trust their genius in their expertise?
It's about winning. They don't care about nothing else.
I wish more people out here would understand that these coaches and these programs are in the business of winning games, and they sacrifice morals to win games.
I'm sorry, Bam. Did you say he is coaching in Italy? What the hell? He coaching in Italy?
Okay, I think Bam has to be trolling. I do not. So in the chat, for those who are not watching, Bam says Art Browse is currently coaching in Italy. I don't believe that, because I don't even think Italy has American football. Anyway, while we wait on Kyle, how do you feel about Ja Morant's 8-game suspension with 6 games already served?
Before we get to that, Kyle just said yes. Bam is correct that Art Browse is coaching Italy. What the hell is he coaching in Italy?
Italian football, me man. Okay, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said that.
Don't put that in. Don't put that as
Italia,
a social post.
Italia della football.
There we go. You watching too much F1?
Man, they got Art Browse over there eating spaghetti after the offensive coordinator meetings.
I know Art Browse gained 20 pounds.
Oh man!
Oh, wow.
So Kyle says the Italian Football League is an American rules football league in Italy. Art Browse over there calling the double hitches after eating some linguine.
What is he eating?
Linguine. they were eating that chicken arrabbiano.
Yo, please don't make this the post. This is
man, yeah, this is definitely not the social post. All right, but no. How do you feel about Ja Morant's 8-game suspension with 6 games already served, which means I believe he is eligible to return either tomorrow night or Friday night when the Grizzlies potentially play again. When you first heard about this suspension, what did you say?
Last week you and I talked about the most important thing to come from this is that Ja seeks the help that he really needs. To me, on the surface, it does not look like he got that help. If he's talking about dealing with anxiety, depression, stress, and he checks into a facility 3 days or a week, like that's not enough time to. He's like, yo, I learned some breathing exercises. Okay, but the playoffs are here, and your team, on paper, they're championship contenders. Like the stress and the anxiety, it's only going to get worse. So I hope that nothing repeats and that hopefully this offseason he may be able to go into a little bit deeper, but on the surface it just feels like he did that interview, quote unquote, with Jalen Rose. We just checking some boxes. Oh yeah, I checked into facility. I did some breathing exercises. I'm good to go. That just doesn't feel right to me.
Money talk and the playoffs do too. All I got when I saw this 8-game suspension is the Memphis Grizzlies and Adam Silver came up to him and they said, "Hey, NBA young Ja, you gonna stop this shit right now. We're gonna let your ass back on this court. We didn't send you down to Florida. You had to do 3 days straight of nothing but all day meetings about how to be a better professional and a better person. When we bring you back, you better play basketball, take care of your teammates, take care of your family, and continue to at least get some help as you work through these problems. But best believe we cannot lose this 2 seed, and we need to compete in the playoffs. We have a chance to win a chip, and we need you back. But if we bring you back, don't make us look stupid and regret this decision." I bet you they hit him. You remember back when you used to get in trouble with your parents and they used to ease up on your punishment and they used to be like, don't make me regret doing this because the punishment would be
Yes.
twice as worse. That's what I think happened
And
here. They told him.
to be
Go ahead.
say Kyle makes a good point. He could be continuing to work on himself outside of the facility, so that's a fair point.
Agree, Kyle. Like I definitely think he's probably continuing to work on himself, but I would be what's the word I'm looking for?
Apprehensive.
Apprehensive. I would say negligent to say that the Memphis Grizzlies and Adam Silver didn't sit him down and say, "Yo, we will give you 8 games, but if you or anything like this comes up again, that is your ass, Mr. Postman." And I bet you Adam Silver is in that meeting like, "Yo, you're young with hundreds of millions of dollars. What you're doing is not crazy, but you cannot do this on camera. And you cannot do this in a way that makes the league or the Memphis Grizzlies look bad. Because they're going to protect the shield." So they said, "This is your first offense. You're a young kid. We're going to let you off the hook this time.
Dog.
But if this
Phil
comes
Knight
back to my desk."
That's it. Phil picked up the phone and said, "You want this $200 million? Sit your ass down." Yes, sir. Click. That's all breathing exercise you need.
Yeah. Speaking of owners, did you hear that Magic Johnson is joining the group bidding for the Washington Commanders?
Magic, don't come to the ghetto. Stay out of it. You don't.
Really? You think that?
Dog. The first thing, whoever buys the Commanders, the first thing you have to do is build a stadium. Who wants to take on that project?
So I have a good amount of DC sports fans, and they're ecstatic to hear that Magic Johnson joined this group because they, in their mind, with Magic's connections, that should help the sale of this team go faster because of his connections. And they're thinking the sooner the Commanders get out of Dan Snyder's possession, the sooner the city of Washington is going to approve this stadium, which means they might help build it, or if you get enough investors, they might be able to help put enough money in to help get this built. I think, and basically the point that they were conveying to me, and shout out to my guy Paul Gerard, the point that Paul was kind of making to me was that nobody wants to work with Dan Snyder, so they make everything that he does in regards to this team very difficult. So if you take that out of his possession, similarly to how the Donald Snyder and the Clippers thing, everything starts to open up. You get an owner that everyone likes, respects, wants to work with. The city decides they want to work with you more because they recognize how much money your sports team brings in. I mean, listen, I'm going to stay optimistic here. I'm going to stay optimistic here and say that if Magic joins in this and they're able to get this deal made, I think the trajectory of the Washington Commanders could easily be on the upward and onward. And hey, maybe that's the start of them being able to put a good football field or good football stadium or good football product out on the field, and might help them be more competitive within their division. Because I'm looking at the Commanders and I'm saying y'all are the only team in that division where my gut knows y'all aren't winning that division, nor will y'all be competitive. I can make a case for every other team in that division. I cannot make a case for the Commanders. So hopefully with new ownership, might get some better results, man. What else? Okay. Staying in the world of football a little bit. Have you been watching any of these XFL games? These games have actually been a little bit decent. I don't know if you've actually been able to catch any of these games.
I've watched a few. I love the XFL rules and how no game is really out of reach, and I think that's the intriguing part. So you could be down, 16-2, and in a couple of plays you could be in the lead. So I love some of the rules that the XFL has. See how it works. Maybe the NFL can adopt some of these rules, like especially instead of the onside kick was like a 4th and 20 or like that. Yeah,
20. I like that.
Yeah,
rule.
Like I think it's cool. I think it just adds a little more parity, adds a little more competitiveness. It's been the first.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I was watching the game not too long ago, and it was I believe the last undefeated team was either Houston or Seattle. It might have been Houston. I think it was Houston, and they played up in Seattle, and I watched like the second half of that game, and that was a really, really entertaining game. And I was like, man, the XFL, they're not putting bad product out in the field at all.
Nope. It's been a great
So
inaugural season.
makes you wonder, do you think at some point the NFL will try to buy the XFL as like their developmental NFL program?
No, we need NFL Europe again. I want NFL Europe.
Why?
It was great. Dog, nothing was better. Maybe I'm saying how I am playing Madden and playing against the NFL Europe team and dropping 100 on them.
Yeah.
I used to do that
My
all the
man.
time.
Why you don't beat up on the other users like that though?
I was like 12.
Man. The Rock, I see what you're doing with the XFL. This guy, he wants to just beat up on some kid. Let me tell you something. If they, you know what they should do? Nah, they should. But if one of these days, Madden should put in the national champion from the college football playoff into Madden and
Yes,
have
they
them play
should.
like, and have it be a challenge. You be the college team, and we're gonna put the worst NFL team in here. If you can beat this team, like it has to be a challenge. It has to be a
Yes.
challenge.
All
Because
Madden.
all Madden, you have to be able to beat this team. Because boy, a lot of y'all would realize that no, Bama cannot beat the worst NFL team. That's just not how this
No.
works. Not how this works. Speaking of expanding the game to other countries, the World Baseball Classic has been going on, and there have been some really good games. I think last night was it Japan and Mexico that had like a classic game? It
I
was either last
saw
night or the
some tweets about it. To be
Japan and Mexico
transparent.
had a really good game. I know the U.S. has advanced on to the World Baseball Classic final. I
Yep.
guess for these sports that have like global showcases, thinking of like the World Cup, the World Cup. I mean, the Olympic tournament in basketball. We have the Olympic tournament in football for both men and women's. We got this World Baseball Classic. Do you see the benefit in these kind of global showcases of sport? And if so, do you think there's a world where American football ever gets global on that stage?
I don't think American football gets. It's going to take generations because American football now, even Americans are starting to scale back on allowing their kids to play because it's such a dangerous game, and it's not cheap to play football. Like the equipment is expensive. That's why soccer is the most popular game in the world. You just need a soccer ball. You can go play for hours. I like World Showcases. They're cool. I'm not a baseball guy. I don't watch baseball, but I've heard a lot of these games are good. I might check out. Say Japan. I don't know when they play. Is it tonight or is it tomorrow?
I think it's tomorrow.
Let's see. Like I might tune in because America. But let me see. Oh
Home of
no,
the
this
free,
is
land of the
tonight.
brave.
Yeah, something like that. Home of the free. We hate black people. Is that what you meant to say? But
Oh yeah, no, home of the free. We used to enslave blacks. I think that's used to.
yeah, I think
That used
that's
to
I
be it.
think that's the
Yeah.
motto. But yeah, no, it looks like it's on now. Yeah, Japan is up 3-1.
I'm gonna say it like
Yeah.
this: if Japan wins the baseball classic, it's gonna be. I put my money on Shohei Ohtani winning the MVP next year or this year.
I'll say you'll stay off Twitter because it's gonna get real racist on there.
Yo, racist jokes after your country lost in the global showcase is hilarious because it's like, yo, they could their country could have just won, right? Like you wouldn't be this salty if your country just won. And yo, okay, this is gonna sound crazy. What if Japan really want to beat up on us, but they know the only way they can really beat up on us is via sports because they tried out trying to beat us in something else prior, and they saw how that worked out.
You are being real reckless right now.
Listen, this is all I'm saying. I
You
believe
driving a
every
little bit off
country
rails.
knows their bread and butter in certain sports. I think Japan knows baseball is one of them sports for them. I think they're looking at America like y'all boys is sweet. Just like a lot of the South American and Latin American countries look at the U.S. Well, a lot of the South American, Latin, and European countries look at the United States in global football, aka soccer, to some of y'all, and say, Y'all boys is sweet as hell. We is about to dot y'all the fuck up. Hence, they do what they did. The only sports that we really be getting off, basketball,
Dog.
and track and field. I'll give us track and field. We be nice in track and field. It depends on what track and field is.
There are so many pause moments happening with you and in the chat right now.
Shout out to Bam. Bam's dropping some bombs in here. All right, last thing, and then we can wrap this show up. I think we both know Embiid has taken over the MVP race. It's official, so I don't think we need to go too much into that. The other night, Austin Reeves for the Los Angeles Lakers dropped 35 points. And then I noticed the following morning when I woke up, there's an ESPN notification that he will be looking for around a 4-year, $50 million total deal, which is what?
$12.5 million a year.
Yeah, 12.5 million a year. So that brings me to this question. When do you let your boss know, or when do you let your company know the price of the brick has gone up?
That is a great question. Because the two ways you can do it, right? You can hint towards it and build up to it, or you can do an Austin Reeves like, yo, yeah, this is what I'm looking for. I am I don't know. I need context. I am a fan of in the professional world. Drop hints. Like, yeah, like prepare yourself. I am going to ask for a raise. Just know that I am keeping my ducks in a row. So when I do ask for a raise, I'm asking for a raise because XYZ, I've done this, and this.
Fair.
But that's me.
Now, let me tell you, I'm on the opposite end. I say you knock that shit out the park and make it be known, yo, y'all see what I do, and y'all been getting me at a discount. Just know, the price of the brick has gone up. Because my problem, I'm not gonna say my problem. My issue with your route is you could be going, you can be doing your thing, letting it be known, like, building up to it, letting it be known, dropping some hints. And then when the hint comes, now they got a counter. Now it's like, yeah, you've been doing this, but we also need to see X, Y, and Z before they start giving you excuses, right? Versus if you go out there and put up 30, 40, hypothetically speaking, on like a back-to-back night, now it's like, yo, y'all see what I've been doing and y'all been getting me at a discount. It's about time y'all raise the brick. Now, with that, I always say this. If you're going to up the price of the brick without warning, you have to be willing to give a little bit of a discount for home loyalty.
No.
Now
they wouldn't give me a discount if they fired me. Why would I give them a discount?
Nah, but I'm saying like this. In Austin Reeves' case, right? He's looking for 4 years, $50 million. But if I'm Austin Reeves for the Lakers, I would still tell them 4 over 50, but I'd be okay with 4 over 45, 4 over 46. Okay. But the next team, 4 over 50, or it ain't happening, dog. I've lived by that, and it's helped me out. Me and you used to work together.
Yeah.
Hey, the price of the brick went up for me. And you know what someone else said? Hey, oh, that's what the brick is now? I got a little bit more for you. Oh, so the price of the brick is doubled now. Sign me up for it.
That's
I'm
fair.
all for that. Like, that's just me though. Like, I know some people aren't a fan of the hometown discounts. Some people use the hometown discount to still skip town. Some people, I don't know. But I'm gonna tell y'all like this, and this is the last thing we can say, and then we can start to wrap the show up. If you out here feel like your services are maybe being utilized at an advantage, at a discount, and you feel like your price is going up, don't be afraid to mention that the price of the brick is going up. Nothing wrong with speaking your value into existence, or your value increase into existence. I think what I find a lot of times is too many of you hardworking Americans and other nationalities, too many of you hardworking people are out here not getting your full bag. You are underselling your own dope. hypothetically speaking, not saying any of you are out here selling drugs. And we here at the Going for Two Network, specifically on the Speak On It podcast, do not endorse or support the selling, distribution of narcotics. Gotta say that.
Or usage.
Or wait, maybe usage, depending on what they are. Depending on what they are. But
Yo.
not usage either. Not usage either. So you gotta be willing to put it out on the table. Yo, I think I deserve X, Y, and Z. Now, if your company's a good company, they should have a yearly pay increase.
Yes.
And I'm gonna say this: don't fall into that. Don't fall too deep in that either. Because if they only giving you one extra breadstick and you think you deserve 2 more, don't be afraid to ask for 2 more breadsticks. And that is some Los D-Mix knowledge. Danny, let the people know where this podcast is brought to them by and where they can find us.
This broadcast is brought to you by goingfor2.com. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter, speakonit_pod. Don't forget to send your questions to us, speakonitpod14@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter at DannyOcean41, not using narcotics, not distributing narcotics, being anywhere close to narcotics, because we don't do that.
Yeah.
D, what about you?
People, you can find me not distributing narcotics, not distributing narcotics, not supporting the usage of narcotics at Los D-Mix. That's LOSDEEMIX on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube. I'm trying to work through some. I'm trying to work through a major purchase, but then soon y'all be able to catch me on Twitch. I think that would be pretty live. And I want to let it be known, people, y'all should send us questions at speakonit14@gmail.com because some of the questions
Speak on a pod 14.
Speakonitpod14@gmail.com. Excuse me. Some of the questions we've gotten have been very, very good. And I anticipate next week we'll have another very good question. And with that, people, the last thing of information that I'm going to drop before we get out of here is closed mouths do not get fed. So before you complain about what you're getting, ask for some more. And if they don't want to give you some more, find someone who will give you some more.
I couldn't say it better myself.
Danny, you was with me about what? About 3.5 years ago when a brother won't making a whole lot. Oh, yeah, brother, there. I was listen, the things I was stressing about back in 2020, end of 2019, and things I'm stressing about now.
Two totally different animals.
Totally. Back that was back in the days I used to wonder if my groceries would stretch. Now I'm over here trying to buy a house or a condo. It ain't. It's different. It's different.
Hey, talk to him. Talk to him, young blood.
Listen, and all I did was bet on myself, and then I doubled the fuck down on that bet on myself. That's all I'm saying. That's all.
Talk to him, young blood.
Talk. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes y'all be playing with me. Virginia taking the Sweet 16, and I'm talking my shit.
All right.
Yeah, talking my shit. All right. I got a song for us to get out of here. Get out of here too. This is Glue by Usher. I don't know if you've heard this, Danny, but this song, hold on. This is a fire little song. I ain't gonna hold you. This is Usher doing the Usher thing. Hold on. People, we appreciate you being here. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you were here with us today. From the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of Danny's heart, thank you. And make sure you sing a little something sexy to your lady if you got one out here. And let her know, whoo, can't get enough of that glue.
Oh, no, we out.